Alright.
Let's do this. Alright, who thinks they know how to use a semicolon? Actually, first of all, close computers. Completely.
What if we're going to take notes?
Or turn around.
Yeah, I'm just going to use...
Do I trust
break
you
it?
taking notes?
No, I'm not going to take notes.
Do you want
I'm just going to
do
leave
you want a
it.
piece of paper?
No. Wait, are we taking notes right now?
I don't want you on a computer. I can give you a piece of paper if you want to take notes.
Are you right, Alex?
Kyle, buddy,
Wait.
will you turn the computer around just so I can have your attention? Do you want a piece of paper to take notes? Alright, shh. So who thinks they know how to use a semicolon? Elijah. Yes,
I
buddy.
know. It's when it's not it's not a full sentence. You need another sentence to make it. You need another sentence to make it like an actual sentence.
Okay,
But
okay.
it's two different thoughts.
I see what you're getting there. We're going to get to that. Johnny.
I was gonna say the same thing Elijah said.
In a much different way, I would assume.
Probably not in that.
Okay. So here's semicolon, okay? I have paper if anyone wants to take notes on this. And you can use it in your quiz.
You don't trust me taking notes.
Not on the computer. Okay?
I'll have some paper. I always take notes. Very good notes.
And how many words do you spell wrong while you're doing that?
Not very many.
Fun
I do
taking
my
notes.
quick write from Google Docs because Google Docs has spell check.
Alright, yeah, you need it. So there are several ways to use a semicolon. Number one, okay, is to separate two related sentences. Okay? So, in order to use a semicolon, the sentences must be related. Okay? So, someone give me two related sentences. Make something up. Do you guys want me to
The
make
dog was cute. The dad.
Okay,
dad
so
was cute.
the dog was cute. What was it, Mary?
The cat was cute.
So it would have to be related back to the dog, right? So it's such a good sentence, right?
The dog was cute.
Fluffy ears.
Dog was cute.
Unlike the
He
cat.
had fluffy ears. Charles, I feel like you're not a cat person.
I didn't even say that.
Oh, who was
That
it?
was Elijah.
But I'm also not a cat person like at all.
Okay.
Dude, cats are great.
So one rule is to separate. Kaylin, stay with me. Okay. Separate sentences that are complete thoughts and related. Okay. The other thing that you typically need to use, you guys have seen this, I swear. Okay. The dog was cute. Semicolon. However, he was old. Okay. So in the second use of when you separate two related sentences, oftentimes you will have this additional phrase. I think it's called a conjunctive phrase. It's going to be in your quiz, okay? This is one way to use it, is when you have a comma after an introductory word after a semicolon.
When's the quiz?
Huh? After this. Okay? I'm basically assessing whether you guys understood it. Okay? So the dog was cute, semicolon. So oftentimes you'll have an introductory phrase like however, although. You will always put a comma after that connecting word. Okay? So have you guys seen a semicolon used like this before where there's another word with a comma? Okay. Always a comma used after that introductory word.
Unless it's a because.
Well, you wouldn't start with because. Because I can't come up to you and say, because I was cold. I need something else for it to make sense. Right?
But you can come up there and say, however.
So it would be. So if the dog was cute, comma, because he was old.
No. Because that would mean that because he was old is a complete sentence. Can I come up to you and say because he was old without any other context? No, you need something else in front of that because in order for it to make sense. Who's he? Who's old? Okay, you need that information. Okay. Alright, the second thing that you need, that you can use a semicolon for, is to separate confusing lists. Okay? So another way to use semicolons is to separate confusing lists. So have you guys ever seen something where something is listed and there's commas all in there and you don't know like which is part of which? That's what these are for, Johnny.
I was just. I've seen this like that. That's my mom would just make a grocery.
Yes, okay. So I went to the store for ham and eggs.
Are they green?
Semicolon. Okay. Milk. Cereal. And bananas for breakfast. Semicolon. And peanut butter. Okay. So do you see, Kaylin? Do you see how within each list, like if I said milk, comma, cereal, comma, bananas, they're all one thing, like they're all for breakfast. But if I don't have that semicolon, it would be confusing if it was all commas. Okay, you wouldn't know that that is one thing. Or if I said I went to the grocery store for cheese, bread, and turkey for lunch, semicolon, cereal, milk, bananas for breakfast, semicolon, turkey, rice, and broccoli for dinner. Okay, so the semicolon would separate the conjoined ingredients in the list. Does that make sense? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs middle. When you would use a semicolon for things in a list. Yes?
So it's like when you're using a semicolon, that's like kind of switching like subjects almost, or does it also have to be related to what you were talking about?
No, this is a whole different rule. They don't have to be related. It's used to separate confusing lists, basically. Okay, so like if I just listed a bunch of stuff like bread, peanut butter, milk, I don't need semicolons because you understand that each concept is separated. But if I have a list where several things are in one unit, like this, where it's like milk, cereal, and bananas for breakfast, if I had a comma here, it would be confusing as to what was connected. Okay? So semicolons used to separate confusing things in a list. For the boys who have their thumbs middle, do you want to elaborate on what you're confused about specifically on that? Or did I clarify just now?
It just looks threatening.
It looks threatening.
And you kind of hard to tell.
Okay, let's do this real quick.
Elijah wants to know the difference between the semicolon.
Well, I understand it, but it's just the same.
Basically the same thing. You just have specific rules for semicolons. Like commas you can use pretty
You can't use
like-
semicolons.
yeah, colons are sorry, are you talking about commas? Commas are used very frequently, whereas semicolons have specific rules for when you can use them. Okay? So let me give you another example really quick of a list. Actually, Elijah, let's do this one together. Okay? So, let me think. I saw 6 dogs, semicolon, okay? A Maltese, German short-haired pointer, and a poodle on the street, a Chihuahua, comma, what's another dog? German Shepherd and a pug in a car.
I thought you said they were.
Yeah, you said
No, I'm sure she used a semicolon.
Hold on, Mary. I like where you're going with that. Okay. All right. Okay. Elijah, tell me where I would put commas and semicolons.
I saw 6 dogs.
I saw 6 dogs, a Maltese, German short-haired pointer, and a poodle on the street, a Chihuahua, German Shepherd, and a pug in a car.
I saw 6.
Where would I put commas? Let's start with commas.
Comma. After poodle.
Okay.
On the street, semicolon.
Semicolon. Okay. What other commas?
A Chihuahua.
So after Chihuahua. Okay.
GS, comma.
Yes, comma.
No, I was talking about the one in the bottom.
Oh, I'm so sorry. German Shepherd.
And a pug. And I don't think there's a comma after pug.
Okay. Are you satisfied?
Is that Maltese or
A Maltese.
A Maltese?
German Shorthair Pointer.
Okay. Put a comma after Maltese.
Okay. A Maltese. German Shorthair Pointer and a poodle. Comma on the street.
After GPS or GSP.
After GSP?
Yeah.
Okay.
German short.
Are we done or
I
is it
think
good?
that's.
Alright, raise your hand if you agree. Alright. Someone want to help Elijah out? Mary?
I don't think you need to call them.
No. Because this is not an independent clause, right? I can't come to you and say, on the street. Right?
What's a comma? It's not a semicolon.
Doesn't matter. With commas, you either are separating things in a list, or you are separating two independent clauses connected by a conjunction, such as and, but, for, yet, so. Okay? So and a lot of you guys were doing this, you put commas. Commas do not go where you pause in a sentence. So just because you use a pause when you're talking does not mean you put a comma there. Okay? We'll do more comma stuff because we obviously need it. Alright? So Elijah, this comma does not need to be there. Mary, what else?
There's no comma before and after GSP. You need a comma there? I thought you don't put a comma before you use the word and.
So here's one rule, okay? If you have three things in a list, so Maltese, German Shepherd, Pointer, and a poodle, you don't need a second comma.
That's right.
It's also not grammatically incorrect to use a comma, but it's kind of your choice, okay? So you can or cannot, you're not going to get marked down for that. So the rule is three, okay? Three things in a list, you don't need two commas. So you can put a Maltese, comma, GSP, and a poodle, or a Maltese, comma, GSP, comma, and a poodle, okay? Is the semicolon used correctly? Thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down. If you agree with Elijah or do not agree with Elijah. Caleb? Good. You did that correctly, okay? Do you see how if I just listed commas everywhere, it would be overwhelming? Because you're saying you saw these dogs on the street and these dogs in a car, so you have to use a semicolon to separate it because it could be confusing without them.
Wouldn't it be a period?
Where?
On the semicolon. Like, I don't understand why you put a semicolon for the period.
I'm sorry, what are you talking about?
A poodle on the street, period. A chihuahua.
A Chihuahua, German Shepherd, and a pug in a car is a sentence?
It's not a sentence, but you can add stuff to it to make a sentence.
Yes, but that's
Yes.
not what it is right
That's
now.
not what it is.
Okay, you can rephrase your sentences to do that, or just add a semicolon. Okay. So then you would say, I saw 6 dogs, a Maltese, German Shepherd, and a poodle in the street. And then I saw the other 3, a Chihuahua. See how like now it's almost even more confusing by doing that? Okay. So that's the second time that you would use a semicolon. Okay. Alright, so those are the only times you're going to use a semicolon. Okay, what was the first one? Malachi?
It's when you're separating some related sentences
Okay.
that can go together.
Second, Johnny.
To separate things in the list.
Okay, third thing, what's the last one? It had to do with the first one. Esther, do you know?
It's like separating sentences that have commas in them.
Yes, so that introductory phrase, okay? Like the however or the although or on the other hand always has to have a comma after that. Okay, so that's when you would use the semicolon. Alright, so let's get to colons. Colons are super easy, okay? So colons, on the other hand, are used for 2 purposes only. One, to introduce a list. So just like I said, I'm going to the store for the following, colon, eggs, milk, peanut butter, juice, chocolate, ice cream.
Chocolate is great.
Okay, chocolate is great. That's a given. Okay, so that's when you would use a colon. So a colon's this guy.
It knows better.
Okay,
Excuse me.
so aggressive, Charles. Okay, any questions on this? Do I even need to give examples? Anyone want an example? Me? Okay. So, a list. The students in the room are Faith, Kaylin, Karis, Kyle, Kaden,
just gonna put me last?
I was trying to
didn't
go.
put me out.
Are you gonna put better after all this?
I was trying to go in the order of the room. Okay.
Or better.
So Faith, do you see how I would use that? I would use it to introduce a list. Okay. The second time I'm going to use a colon is, you guys should know this. To introduce what? Charles. What is, since you're talking, you seem to know the answer. When's the second time you would use a colon?
To introduce something we're about to talk about.
Yes, specifically in your papers. What's the evidence you need in an essay? What's it called? Starts with the Q.
Oh, cute.
Yes. So introduce a quotation. Okay. So we talked about the different kinds of textual evidence, right? So if I'm going to introduce a quote in an essay, like, let me just pull one. Okay. Here's Mary's paper. Okay, so she says, in the text it says, she could also put in the text it says the following, colon, list the quote. Okay. In the text it says, colon, list the quote. Okay. So the other time when you can use a colon is to introduce a quotation. Thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down, I know how to use a colon. Thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down from everybody, I know how to use a colon. Johnny? Dolly? Okay, good. Alright. So, do we want to review at all semicolon or colon?
No.
We've got it? Okay. So let's go ahead and take that quiz really quick. Yes, Elijah.
What were the 3 rules? There's like a recap.
Okay, semicolon. Remember, what was one of the times you used a semicolon? Tessa. What was one of the times you used a semicolon?
To introduce
Two related sentences. What's another one? Aiden.
Separate confusing things in the list.
Okay. Karis, what was the third? Before that introductory phrase in 2 similar sentences. Okay? So if I list 2 sentences and there's a word like however, I need that semicolon. Okay? Alright, so go ahead and log on really quick. It's a novel that accurately depicts what was happening in the time period. Okay? So we're looking at it from a historical perspective of this is what the 1930s was like. Okay? And if we kind of like protect that, pretend like it didn't happen, we can't learn from it, right? So, we're going to do some pre-reading so you guys know what to expect when you open that novella. Remember this little baby novel? Okay? So, Salinas Valley, who's ever been to Salinas or knows where it is? Okay, Aiden. Okay, what does it look like, Aiden?
I can't exactly remember. I was there a very long time ago.
Probably.
It is, like, I remember it is quite agricultural.
Okay.
There are lots and lots of fields of various crops.
Okay, so lots of agriculture and probably very flat. Okay, meaning the land. So, like, have you guys ever been to the Midwest before? It's like, it's honestly so ugly. You like look out and it's just flat. It's just miles. You can see it for miles.
Wait, where's Salinas Valley?
We're going to talk about it right now. So it's in California. So here's San Francisco, right? It's about a few 100 miles south of San Francisco, getting closer to Fresno area.
Oh, no, I've been there.
Aiden, we're clicking a lot right now to be focusing. Okay? So it's right about here. If you've been to like Monterey, it's a little bit south of Monterey. If you've been to Paso Robles, that's pretty common. It's in that area. Okay, so the valley is right here, and it's a big agricultural area. So this is where the book is based. It's in Salinas Valley, so it's really local to us, which is really cool. Because when they're talking about different cities, you're going to know about it. They mentioned Weed, California, which is, if you're going to Oregon, have you ever driven up to Oregon, anybody? You pass through Weed, California, okay? My sister goes to Southern Oregon, so I've made that drive several times. It's a rough 5-hour drive, okay?
Beautiful
We had to
place.
drive from Santa Maria to Alaska, so we got to go through Oregon in the summer, which was horrible.
Oh my gosh, being stuck in the car that long.
Why was the 5 hours to Oregon?
So where my sister lives in Oregon, it's a 5-hour drive from here to Medford, Oregon. Oh, it had nothing to do with the book. I'm saying I've been through there.
But like my grandparents live in Southern California. It's
Uh-huh.
a 7-hour drive. I've done it like 8 times.
Isn't it funnier because California's bigger than California and Oregon?
Yeah, Salinas Valley is just crops.
All right, so this is a picture of Salinas Valley. Okay, obviously we talked about being very agricultural. So that means a lot of plants are being grown, crops. This is where a lot of your food comes from right now. Okay, do you guys remember like the big romaine lettuce scare that happened a few months ago where your parents would be like, don't eat romaine? Let's make fun of my husband really quick again for the millionth time. He would text me pictures at salad bars and be like, is this romaine? And it would be like spinach. And he was like, no, honey. Okay, so this is actually where a lot of that lettuce came from. Was Salinas Valley.
I was taking a picture of the grass, be like, is this?
Basically, it was. What I'm assuming happened, it got infected basically because the animal runoff came onto the fields because then there's all this livestock there too. So if like the water overflows and all that, what's a nice word for it? Just excrement
I thought it was human.
from livestock. I don't know. I've heard that.
That's what I heard.
But that's usually what happens to romaine because it grows in the ground. Okay. So in the book, they're going to talk about walking along the riverbed a lot. So on like even the cover of the novel, they're walking along a riverbed. This is one of the rivers that's within Salinas Valley, so you can kind of get a picture of what it would look like when they're walking alongside it. Okay. Migrant mother. All right. I showed you guys some of these pictures yesterday where I kind of said this is like what a migrant's home would look like. This is an actual migrant mother, and it is the most famous picture of migrant workers known to man. Okay, this was taken from the Library of Congress. Like, this is how famous it was. It's used, it's held in the library, it's used throughout schools, okay? So this is a mom and her kids. How old do you think she is? Just looking at her face.
30.
Probably not as old as she was.
She's probably not as old as she looks.
Oh,
It's
okay.
probably stressed.
If you didn't know that she had children, look at those lines. I'm 26. How old do you think she looks?
30.
40 something.
Okay. That's what I would probably guess more like 40 something. She's only 32.
I would say 20.
She's working in the sun a lot, okay? This was actually where they live. So imagine having 2 young children, and she's holding a baby, you can't see it right now,
I see.
living in those conditions. Okay?
How old is she?
She's 32.
That
There you go. Okay? So look, there she is with her baby, her kids. Okay, that's where they live. And that was totally okay to pay these kinds of workers below minimum wage, like nickels, in order to do manual labor that was so rough. Alright, so when they're talking about the barracks and things like this in this book of where they live, I want you guys to imagine like what really existed, what really this looked like. So here's another picture. Okay, look at the kid's face. Look how dirty. Like, this should make you feel some kind of way, right? The fact that families lived like this. And it was. And remember what I talked about yesterday? That these people were seen as like the slums of society. Johnny, are we focused? Okay. These people were seen as like the lowest dogs of the world. Okay, so they were mistreated. There was a lot of foul language in referring to them. Okay, people didn't want them in their areas because they were migrant farm workers. They were migrant immigrants. All right. So follow along with me as I read. These photos have become known as Migrant Mother. They are a series of photographs that Dorothea Lange made of Florence Owens Thompson, so that's the woman in the picture, Florence Owens Thompson, and her children in February or March of 1963.
1936.
Oh my gosh, 1936. Okay,
60.
so almost 100 years ago in detention.
What?
In Napomo, California. Lange was concluding a month's trip photographing migratory farm labor around the state for what was then the Resettlement Administration, so a federal government resettlement administration. Lange said the following in 1960, okay? So, remember what I talked about? What is a migrant farm worker? Someone remind me. I talked about it yesterday. Malachi?
It's a farmer who travels to find work.
Yes. Okay, so their home is not set in stone. It's not like they have a job every day. Their job is dependent on where the farm labor is needed. So some school districts, like we have one, we have a migrant farm worker school schedule because if we have kids from migrant farm worker families who are constantly uprooting. Okay, stay focused, you too. So this is what she said. I saw and approached the hungry and desperate mother as if drawn by a magnet. I do not remember how I explained my presence or my camera to her, but I do remember she asked me no questions. I made 5 exposures, working closer and closer from the same direction. I did not ask her name or her history. She told me her age, that she was 32. She said that they had been living on frozen vegetables from the surrounding fields and birds that the children had killed. Okay? So this mother with her children, their family is surviving on vegetables frozen in the fields around them and dead birds that they killed. Okay, these are American citizens. She had just sold the tires from her car to buy food. There she sat in that leaned tent with her children huddled around her and seemed to know that my pictures might help her, and so she helped me. There was a sort of equality about it, okay? So just knowing the background of this photo, can you imagine why John Steinbeck took such an active approach in exposing the conditions that these workers lived in? Okay. Remember how we talked about he won a Pulitzer Prize for The Grapes of Wrath yesterday? Largely for exposing these conditions? Yeah, Elijah.
I don't understand where racism comes from.
It's not racist, I would say that.
You were saying they use the N-word.
Oh, this is a whole different concept. That was just kind of like a forewarning of you will see this word in this book and the historical context of it. This is what the book is based on. So John Steinbeck, remember, he worked on ranches, so he was really well aware of what I can see you clicking screens with light changes. Okay, so close your computer. This is what he saw in order to inspire him to write these types of books, because he wrote more than one book on migrant farm workers. Okay? Alright, so consider, how do they tie in together? What do you think Salinas Valley, why would I be talking about Salinas Valley, and why would I be talking about Migrant Mother? Yes?
Did the woman in the photograph live in Salinas Valley?
So she was in Nipomo, California, which is not Salinas Valley, but just look where it is. But she's a migrant farmer, remember? She could have worked there. Okay, anyone else? Mary?
The conditions are probably similar.
Okay, so the conditions are probably similar. Alright, any other ideas? Okay. So your discussion board assignment. It's not on the discussion board, it's only on here, so you guys have to look at the PowerPoint. So, what do you think is the connection between Salinas Valley and this famous photo series, Migrant Mother? Explain using at least 50 words, and please respond to at least 2 others in 50 words or more. Remember to use academic language in responding to each other. Okay, so I agree with you because this, I do not agree with you because of this, although I agree with that, you need to explain this more. Do not be aggressive or talk in slang, because it's an academic time. So go ahead and work on that discussion board. I'll leave the prompt up here so you know it. So the last thing, so eyes on me really quick, I want to make sure everyone knows what to do. Okay, so the last thing is a quick write. So after looking at all of this information, many migrant farm workers in the 1930s were attempting to achieve the American dream. Okay, so think about what the American dream is. In your own words, what is the American dream? What are some of the barriers or blocks to achieving this dream? Okay, so what I'm asking you is, I do this with my juniors, there are a million things that could be the American dream. Okay, what do you think it is? So, think about these migrant farm workers and what they were striving for, okay? Her goal wasn't to live in a tent with her newborn, right? She was trying to get somewhere in life. So what is the American dream to you? And then next, what are some of the barriers or blocks to achieving that dream, okay? So what stops someone from achieving that dream? What are some things in life that could stop you from achieving a dream? Think about the poems we read. Think about dreams of birth, okay? Think about money. Think about...
It sounds like a dying. It sounds like a dying cow. It's like a dying cow.
Like a dying baby.
Yeah, it's been happening like every day this week. I don't know.
Or something Elijah crying.
It was like really loud.
It's
It's
Elijah
go
crying,
away.
that's what
So I
it
wasn't going to acknowledge it, and then it just kept happening.
Are you
What's
sure it's
that
not
noise?
Elijah crying?
I don't know. It's something in the fan, okay? So what could stop someone from achieving that dream, okay? So go ahead and respond to that. You need 100 words or more, okay? So once you know your discussion board, move to your quick write. Remember, a quick write is your opinion, your thoughts, and no format, okay? So just write and get your words out there.
Can you use slang?
Yeah. I don't know why you would use slang in that, but...
Can
Mary?
you use
Shh, Elijah. You finished that?
Can I do like a different, like, try another response to my own?
Sure.
Because I don't really